This is Shox here with your StarCraft 2 video report. I've watched over the game a couple times, and there's definitely quite a few things you can do to improve your game. I'm going to start by going at normal speed, and then I'm going to speed up and slow down the game and pause it throughout different times. Whenever I see different things that I can really explain and tell you on ways to improve your gameplay. For starters, when you first start off the game, for new players and even for a lot of more advanced players, splitting your mineral line isn't a big deal. But as you can see here, you have the rally point set to a mineral patch that's already been harvested. What you want to do, since you have downtime and you're really not doing anything right now, you want to then set this rally point over to this mineral patch right here, because there's no harvesters. That way, only one SCV can mine from a mineral patch at a time. So what's going to happen is this SCV is going to come out, see that it's already being mined, and then he's going to have to spend a couple seconds going to the mineral patch that's not being mined. If you watch actually when this SCV comes out. So it will start harvesting, but now this one coming back is going to have to wait for that one to be harvested, compared to if you just had it set to go to this one. So what you do is, on the first two, since there's 8 mineral patches and 6 SCVs, you set them to the mineral patch, and then while you're waiting, for the first one you set the SCV to this one, and then you would just move the rally point over to this one after the first SCV is built and the second one's being built. Right now you are coming out, I take it to build your first supply depot, which I tend to normally go at 10 supply, 9 supply is fine. 10 supply will give you a little bit better economy, so try and be having your supply built at 10 unless you think you're going to do some type of cheese or proxy. A nice thing to do is actually set this SCV to a control group. That way you can quickly access them while you're still producing units. I'm going to be releasing an APM guide actually really shortly, which is going to help explain. I'm going to have a video which is going to explain how to keep your APMs high during this game, especially in the beginning. And I'm going to explain all about the APMs in the upcoming APM guide, which I think will really help you out, because what you see a lot in your leagues, your guys' APMs are in the lower sections, more around like 20 to 30, and you definitely want to try and get them up to 60. So what you did right here, you move this SCV back. I know you eventually built a bunker here. You can write me an email and let me know why you built a bunker here. You're usually best off just building your barracks right here, and then a second supply depot right here, instead of putting that bunker right in the middle. Because there's no reason, one, a barracks is much larger, barracks has a lot more hit points than a bunker, and then if you really do need a bunker, if you're worried about a rush, you can put the bunker right here, right next to the supply depot, or right on the side of this supply depot, and they'll still be able to hit your opponent as they're attacking. So right now, you built your supply or your factory. One thing you want to make sure you want to do is send, right when this factory is done being produced, you send 4 guys or 2 additional guys over, so you have 3 guys harvesting. Alright, and then this is why I say it's a hotkey, because by having this guy hotkeyed, you can quickly access him. You want to quickly be able to access your scout. I'm not sure if you're not familiar with this map, but let me know in an email why you chose to scout way over here. This is where learning the maps comes in, and it's very important, because in this map there's only 2 spawning locations. No matter what, these are just extra. These areas are just extra mineral patches, and your opponent will never spawn up there. So there's no point ever going and check that. You just want to go check your opponent's base right away. So once you actually check your opponent's base, you see he has 2 gases going. That usually means that, and just 1 barracks with no tech lab. What that means is he's going to be going into quick factory, which, as you can see, he just tossed down a really quick. He just put down his factory, and he's going to try and be teching up. You guys are both. You guys are at 19 supply, and you are at 17 supply. So he's been producing guys a little bit quicker. But it's good that you have your orbital command. Make sure you want to get your orbital command around 15 supply, I like to try and do. And make sure you shift Q your workers back to the mineral line. So basically, if I was to build a supply depot. While they're building that supply depot, I hold shot on shift and then right click the mineral line, and what that's going to do is once they're finished building that supply depot, they go right back to the mineral line. The next thing you want to do is always have your buildings, your production buildings hotkeyed. So I like to use 4 for my barracks. Just set this to control group 4. That way you just hit 4 and start building a marauder. You're a little bit behind your opponent in terms of the macro. He's getting stuff a little bit quicker than you are. So as you can see, he has 2 gas going. If you're ever going to start building a factory, right when you start building your factory, you should be tossing down your second reactor, because when you start going factory, from there on out, whether you go starport or factory units, such as stores or siege or banshees and Vikings, it's very gas dependent, and Terran's one of the most gas dependent races there is, past like the barracks. So once you get factory and starport, it's a general rule of thumb that once you put down your factory, right when you put down your factory, the next thing you should be doing is putting down your second reactor, if you don't have one already, excuse me. Another thing you should let me know in the email is what is the reason behind actually putting down engineering bay. There's a couple of reasons why you put down engineering bay, and one is if you're afraid of them getting cloaked. So if you are worried about him getting banshees, then you want engineering bay so you can get some turrets up. And this is where I'm talking about the shift Q. You should have had him building it while he's building that shift Q that back to the mineral line, so you don't even have to worry about it when he's done. He's just automatically going to be going. So if we take a look right here, your APMs are pretty on par, and your minerals, he has 18 over 17 harvesters, so you guys are about the same. The difference is he's probably using mule right now. But you guys are playing pretty similar. He's just a notch ahead of you in terms of speed and getting his factory and starport out. Army sizes are pretty similar. Yours is actually, or he actually has a little bit bigger army size. So continue to keep up on the SCV production. That's the big thing, is just keep up on the SCV production. Like I said before, you want to have make sure you hotkey your barracks, and this is where right now I'm not sure whether you're waiting. What you want to do right when this factory comes up, unless you plan on going Hellions, you should be getting a tech lab on that thing right away. As soon as that factory is up, you should highlight it and click X, which will build you your tech lab. That way you can start producing siege tanks, which in Terran, siege tanks are very important. Secondly, you want to try and scout your opponent more. You ran your SCV in the very beginning, but after that, you really haven't scouted him at all, which is a big downfall, because you don't know. If you would have scouted him, you could have seen that, hey, he has a starport, he's going to reactor, and if you see this reactor, there's only going to be 2 possibilities. A, he's going Vikings, or B, he's going dropships. He has no reason to be going Vikings against you, just because he knows you're not going Banshees. So you have to assume, since he has Marines and Siege, that he is going to be going dropships on you. And a good way to scout is I have a barracks guide where you can bring an SCV out, maybe to right around to this area, since they're generally pretty close to his base. Build a barracks right here, and then just fly over into his base and to see what he has. So that's a general rule of thumb there. You want to scout your opponent as much as you can. Another thing too, when you're playing against Terran, you can always remember a way you can easily win against a Terran player. If you scout and you see that he's going factory, if you can toss down against this Terran player, if you would have tossed down 2 more barracks and just continue to pump a couple more Marines and Marauders, you could have easily overwhelmed him before he got siege tanks. So if you see that he's going a 1-1-1 build, especially in the lower levels, the 1-1-1 builds are going to be like generally a lot slower, so it's going to take him a little while. But if you could have tossed down another 2 more barracks and then produced a couple, like 2 barracks, what you do, you want to be getting stim a lot quicker. This stim should be researching right away. As soon as you get that tech lab, because stim takes a while to heal, research, and stim's one of the most important things you can have whenever you have units. Like I was saying, the tech lab is just now going down, so you want to have those tech labs and things going down right away, right when they're finished. So have them hotkeyed. So again, you've bought the engineer, you built an engineering bay, but I've yet to utilize it. Also, right here, a note: you can see how there's a SCV waiting. That means you have more. That means you have 4 SCVs on the gas. If you see one just waiting out there, that means you have 4. So you only want to have 3. Make sure you only have 3 SCVs. You always want to have 3, but don't have more than 3. Because if it's just a waste of SCVs, it's not very productive. Just put on minerals. If you need more gas, then it's going to be time to expand. So again, and this is why you definitely, I would have put my barracks right here instead of a bunker, and then if I needed that bunker, I would have put my bunker right over here. He used the scan, you can use the scan to scout him. You want to make sure you keep up on the supply depots. Your supply blocked right now, which you should always, whenever you're about 2 to 3 supply ready from being built, 2 to 3 supply ready from being supply blocked, you should be building a supply depot. I usually have one guy, one SCV, consistently building supply depots, and then whenever I'm good, I'll send him back to the mineral lines. See right here, this is what you don't want to be doing, is taking 4 guys and just having them, right here you have this guy shift click to mineral line, which is good. Same with, you have all these guys shift click, which is very good. That's what you want to be doing every time you build anything in StarCraft 2. But again, you don't want to be having 4 of these guys build it all at once. One, you're spending 400 resources at once, and you're wasting the harvesting time of 4 gatherers. So you want to have one guy consistently building supply depot. You don't want to be getting like up too much ahead. You don't want to have like 20 supply limit above what you even need. But you have one guy building supply depot and then just send him back. Then when you need him, you pull him out and you build another supply depot. Always just keep on top of it. What you basically have done here, since you built a factory but you took so long to put a tech lab on it, and then you didn't even produce any units out of the tech lab until you were waiting for the starport. So you want to try and get much quicker at building a tech lab or building the factory. Right when the factory's up, you build a tech lab, and then you start producing some units. Depending on what your build was, let me know what your overall build was, what you're planning on this game, because it's kind of hard to tell. You kind of are getting a mixture of a little bit of everything. In Terran vs Terran matchups, it's usually 1 or 2 things. You can either toss down 2 to 3 barracks and push on them before they get siege tanks, and you can push in and usually take them out if they're doing this build, because as you see, he only had about 4 or 5 Marines, and if you have tossed down 3 or 4 barracks, you could have easily had around 10. You could have had around 15-20 units and easily pushed up into his base. Especially if you had stim pack. If you just stim pack right away and then run up his ramp, you could take him out rather quickly. But since you were doing this 1-1-1 build, you need to be producing units. You should have had tech lab on this factory, and you should have been producing a siege tank out of that while you're waiting to build the starport. Alright, and then you guys got all these, and as you can see, he's going, this is where the constant scouting comes in. You can send another guy over, scout, send an SCV, or just send a Marine up into his base to be scouting and see what he's going. And that's a big thing. He actually, one thing I've noticed which is good, he's forgetting to put down his scans. He's not using his mules. You also, you're 64. It's alright if you're a couple seconds behind, but try and always keep on top. This is where the hotkeys come in. Or control groups, I should say. You can always just click 5 and just check. Click 5 and check, and then what you do, you then click your other hotkeys. You should always be moving around. You should have this hotkey. What you can do right here, you can have your barracks hotkey. I like to do 4.